So there is totally a part of me that thinks that we're very behind, but also I look around at the garden and I think there is so much life already happening with or without my garden intervention. I try to keep that in mind. You know, we've got some tomato plants growing, which were volunteers from last spring. We've got sunflowers reseeding themselves, you know, so there's a whole lot that's starting to happen. And truthfully, that is what is giving me a little bit of panic and anxiety, because I need to start clearing out these garden beds, but I'm not going to waste, you know, tons of time of growing these particular crops and just like rip them out before they're ready, just in the sake of getting the beds ready for spring. I keep telling myself that, you know, it'll all get done, and then I literally look around and think like, will it all get done? But you know, that's how I felt last year. I felt like this is such a mounting task. This is crazy. Every year our garden is bigger and bigger than we've ever experienced. And it is intimidating and it's a lot of work. And I think the reason why it is so much work, because I would be out here all the time if it were up to me. But we've got 2 little kids, so our time has to really be in a very strategic way. Because you can't just go out here all the time when you have a little baby. And the toddler, he can come out here with us, but it does make things a little bit more complicated. So we're always kind of planning out our 2-hour window or 1-hour window of time to just get out here and do a sprint mad dash of gardening. I'm out here right now. Let's make the most of it. This is the biggest head of cauliflower I've literally ever seen. This is absolutely huge. Look at this. This thing is so massive. So I know I've been doing a lot of cauliflower content lately, but that's just what is going on in the garden. So we've got this gigantic head of cauliflower, and I'm going to do some recipes coming up, but I'm gonna get this thing harvested, and I also have another one over there that needs to be harvested too. This thing is so, I know you can't really see on the video, but it's absolutely gigantic. This is the cauliflower next to my head. It is as big as my head. I'm not kidding. This is crazy. So cool. I've never seen a cauliflower this big at a grocery store. It probably weighs like at least 3 pounds or so. I don't know. I can't even gauge that. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's like multiple meals worth of cauliflower. Oh my gosh, this thing barely even fits in the basket. I could barely even get it through this area of the basket. After seeing how big that one was, and it doesn't look very sporadic, I'm just gonna leave this one alone for a little bit. I'll come back to that one another time. All right, so right now I'm going cauliflower hunting. This is what I do like every time I'm out in the garden. I'm looking in the little center parts, opening them up, seeing if there's a new one right here. So that's just kind of how it happens. There'll be nothing, and then all of a sudden there will be something. You can tell the difference between the broccoli and the cauliflower if you are like me and you just kind of put everything sporadically in a rush in different places, because the cauliflower leaves are going to be like these flatter leaves like this. And the broccoli leaves are going to not like a one solid piece. They're gonna have some divots on the side. That's how I know what is broccoli versus the cauliflower. These right here, although they're small, they are ready to harvest. They're getting really sporadic, and they're just going to continue to grow more sporadically. If it's a smaller plant, it's just not going to have the potential to get to be over like 8-10 inches, massive head of one of these brassicas. So I've got these ones harvested. This is actually a purple shooting cauliflower or purple shooting broccoli. So this particular plant, I'm gonna actually leave through spring. I'm not going to get rid of these. These are just going to be some great spring plants that are just ready to go. And then I have these cherry tomato plants that I'm not going to get rid of. Of course, they're already flowering, looking healthy as can be. These were volunteers, so any type of tomato plant or anything like that that you see in the garden right now were completely self-seeded from the spring, like a tomato fell into the soil, and now they are just, you know, doing their thing. They self-germinated and became a plant. And I've always found that the plants, or about the tomato plants specifically, that self-seed themselves do the best, because they just decided like this is the most ideal spot that I've picked to just start living my life, and I feel like they always do the best. And I'm not going to plant any more cherry tomato plants because this is huge, this is massive. This will give us so much. We've even already got little cherry tomatoes right here. I don't know if you could see. This is the cauliflower plant. I just harvested the head of cauliflower. So I'm going to leave all of the leaves in the bed. I'm not going to rip out the actual plant because I want to try to not disturb the soil as much as possible. So I'm going to chop it at the base, which is, oh my gosh, that's crazy, the base of this, and try to just put these leaves on the soil. Then we're going to just stack lasagna style the mushroom compost and things like that, and just have these leaves naturally decomposing within the beds. I don't have a compost system set up right now, and I definitely don't want this organic matter to go to waste because it's excellent, and I'm just gonna keep it in the beds. I'm not even gonna take it out, let it all just become one with the beds. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna need like a chainsaw to get to this thing. Probably gonna break my scissors. Okay, so I'm gonna come back with some more heavy duty garden shears because these are not cutting it. These cauliflower, like bases of the cauliflower, are like literally miniature trees. I've got this, and we'll see how it works. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Oh my gosh. Another plan. I'll be right back. We're gonna give these rusty wire cutters a try. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I won't even get around it. I know this seems ridiculous, but we don't have a handsaw that I can find at least. Okay, hold on. We have released the cauliflower, and I'm just gonna, and then top it with the mushroom compost and mulch, and then we've already got our, you know, compost working out to resupply the garden with some excellent nutrients. If you are new to the whole no dig, no till garden method, you might be wondering, why is this lady not just pulling out these plants? I choose to do a no-till garden method where we're not disturbing the soil. And you're also supposed to not practice no dig as well, which means you're not pulling up the plants as much as possible. And there's always exceptions. Like personally, I rip out weeds because they're just going to keep growing back. But the actual beneficial plants, I will just, have run their course for that particular season. Moving forward, I'm just going to chop them at the base so that we don't disturb the actual soil life. And it helps create a more beneficial soil ecosystem because there are so many different like microbes and bugs and things like that that are all working together, and we are in turn creating like an actual environment for the plants to thrive in, and we're not depleting the actual soil of nutrients, because there's no diversity when you are tilling constantly. You're basically stripping that land of diversity. That is kind of the whole thing about no till, no dig. I know I'm not saying it as good as somebody else could say it, but that is something I'm trying to adopt wholeheartedly moving forward, which I have mostly been doing in the seasons past. But ever since I've stopped tilling, which we've only tilled once here, I can 100% see the differences, because tilling for me created more problems. It pulled all those weeds up to the surface, the seeds, and it just created a more complicated garden system. This way it makes things easier, as well as more enriched and truly healthy and sustainable. It's a more sustainable garden practice. This is like the silliest thing I've done out here in a while, but we gotta do what we gotta do. And I'm just gonna flatten it out there, and these ones still have yet to be harvested, so I'm just gonna leave them alone. Behind me are these gigantic plants, and I thought they were broccoli, because I just literally started plugging things in at some point in a panic out here, and I kind of forgot what was where. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the biggest broccoli plant. I didn't even know broccoli plants got to be like multiple feet tall. It was crazy. And then, to my surprise, I just looked inside a few days ago, and I see this spiky little the most artistic, abstract looking broccoli romanesco in this particular plant. I'm gonna spend some time getting these a little bit pruned, just kind of clean up some of the unattractive parts, because I know that this plant is ready to take off going into the spring. Once those warmer temperatures start to take effect, we're gonna see a dramatic change with just like the revival of some of these plants that we've overwintered. And what needs pruning the most is my eggplants. Those aren't looking very good, but I do have faith that they will do fine once I get some pruning. And this one I need to trellis up. If you're pruning, don't prune probably, I would say, more than like a quarter of the plant in one session, because you will risk putting the plant in shock. These are all pretty small root wise, and they can just be snapped. So what I've been doing is coming out here, and like this one in particular, this is a weed that I would pull out of the soil. I don't want that. That root will just continue to regrow itself. The sunflower, which it doesn't look like there's any seeds left inside of it. All the birds and everything got to it. Okay, I'm just going to probably put them here. I'm just going to leave them honestly as mulch, and then we're going to put layers of compost on top. Whenever I see sunflowers like this, it freaks me out because one time a wasp nest made a home on the sunflower, and I just casually touched it, and I was holding my daughter, and a wasp started stinging me. And I was running, and thankfully she didn't get stung. But now I'm definitely really cautious of the old sunflowers, because now I realize that they want to make a home in those sunflowers. These were wonderful flowers that lasted for the whole winter, which was crazy. But now it's time for them to give back. All the squirrels and birds have picked away at them. Now I would be giving those sunflowers to my chickens, but there's no seeds left in them, so you know, they'll enjoy the cauliflower much more. So it might look like I've wasted a bunch of cauliflower plants, because I guess you could say I did, I don't know. Anyways, this particular part of the bed, and you know, we're constantly expanding our garden, so every year is like a new experiment as of right now, because it's like we've never grown in this particular area, and each part of the garden is going to have different shade or dry out more. Our property isn't exactly level, so some parts of the garden is going to retain more moisture or lose moisture more as well. So I think this particular part of the garden, now going into the next season when I do my like plan out where I'm growing cauliflower and broccoli and things like that, I'm not going to grow it here because it just did not do well. All of the plants were really small and stunted, and in my mind I thought, you know, they could be fine with a little bit of shade, which the ones that didn't have, like, that have full sun, those are absolutely thriving and doing really well. Just starting the mulching project already. I'll show you what I am leaving in here. I'm leaving these beautiful Savoy cabbages in here. As you can see, they're just, they're doing really good. For me, cabbage is one of those things that I don't have a crazy abundance of experience growing. I feel like most people who get into gardening, the biggest things that they start growing is like tomatoes and peppers. And for me, like, of course I've grown cabbage before, I've grown all of these things before, but I've never grown them in abundance like I have for some of those fruiting varieties. So every year that I'm growing some of these things that typically in the past would have been harder for me to grow, is just something that is super cool, and I'm really looking forward to the Savoy cabbage because it just looks so beautiful and crunchy. And then I also have the red acre cabbage right here that is on a good path, although I do wish they had some more room. I'm going to start more aggressively harvesting the carrots because I've just been harvesting them like whenever we need them for a meal, but some of them are like absolutely gigantic. These carrots are like 2-pound carrots or something crazy. Another sign of spring is this little ladybug that I just saw as I'm walking around. Look at this little ladybug. I'm seeing more bee activity, but the sign of ladybugs is, I feel like, another good sign that spring is indeed here. These carrots have been fantastic. I'm pretty sure these are the Scarlet Nantes. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I'll grow more carrots in the spring because we haven't had to buy carrots for months and months and months now. Oh my goodness, I was not expecting that. Look at this crazy carrot. It's all like spirally and stuff. It must have been growing like around a root or something like that. You would never see this at a grocery store. Like a funky looking, and also they don't sell carrots like this either, which is a shame because they don't always grow perfectly, and the only produce that you see at the grocery store are like the picture perfect things, but you know, most people don't realize that. Produce grows all unusually a lot of the time, and those just don't make it to the store. So this particular area is completely empty. We intended to do something with it last year, but we didn't. The only way we prepared this particular area was just doing a really thick layer of mulch on top directly on top of grass. And this year we did another heavy layer because some weeds started to poke out. But we didn't scrape the soil, we didn't disturb it at all, we didn't do cardboard on the bottom or anything. And now, as you can see, it's just a bunch of mulch, and this lasted like this through the summertime. So I could say that it works efficiently. This is all going to change really dramatically coming up. All of our raised bed, or all of our in-ground garden rows, are going to change a lot coming up very soon. That's going to be what we're going to focus on, probably just refreshing tomorrow, because my husband is off and he has committed some time to the garden for me, so I'm really looking forward to that. Back here, I'm going to move these particular cattle panel trellises to the front, because that's where my tomato garden is going to be. This is like the vision that I have. And I'm thinking of just doing it like a big pepper garden right there in the middle. Back here, this is the extension, the big extension that we just did in the garden. So I'm thinking either more tomatoes or more peppers in the long beds. So if you're new to my channel, then you would not know that my favorite type of flowers are poppy flowers. I love watercolor art, and I feel like poppy flowers, if I had to describe them, they would be like watercolor flowers in real life. They're so whimsical and special looking that for me, they're just very captivating. So it's a big goal of mine to grow a successful amount of poppy flowers every season. And the past few seasons I had grown just a handful of them. That was just by dumping out poppy flower packets everywhere and just hoping for the best, which I did get a little bit, like not very much. This year, I wanted to start them ahead of time. So these are some starts that we all started together, I believe in mid-January, and they're doing really well. They're about a little bit over an inch tall now, and we've got a few different varieties in here. The varieties that I'm growing are the hens and chickens poppies, which look super interesting. The black swan poppies, those just look like these beautifully shredded flowers. Shirley double mix, the rose and feathers poppies, which is kind of like your traditional, no, these ones are the shredded ones too, which was really interesting. I've never grown shredded ones. The scarlet ones, the scarlet peony poppies. Last year I only had one red poppy flower grow basically, and all the other ones were pink. I usually only have success with growing the pink ones for some reason. So I'm going to put some of these seeds in here today because I want to also guarantee that I'm going to have some growing, whether that's from the starts or from the actual seeds, because the temperatures coming up over the next few days are going to be really cold temperatures at night. Most people are familiar with poppy seeds because, you know, lemon poppy seed muffins, all that type of stuff. So they're those little teensy tiny seeds, and all I'm doing for the poppies is literally just sprinkling them over the surface. You don't have to cover them up. Please don't do that, because they not only like the cold to germinate, they also require light to germinate. It's very easy. I literally just sprinkle them all over the place, and I usually get some good success out of that. And I do have 2 beds of poppies that I'm planting out. These ones are so tiny. Oh my goodness, they're like white, tiny little seeds. And honestly, I should just I should save these seeds myself because they're really easy to save. When they have grown into flowers, if you let them dry out, they'll be like little shakers, you know, which is super cool. I'm also going to plant in the back some sunflowers. I just buy one of these like big, I don't know if this is the crazy mix, but this is the one that I bought last time. I'll link it down below from Amazon, and I have really good germination. There's literally no issue. It's just a mix of sunflowers. I'm going to plant sunflowers all along the back of both of these opening beds. That way we have poppies all in the middle, sunflowers in the back, loofahs growing over the side. So the bees are gonna be, this is gonna be the spot for the bees, because bees love loofahs, those particular flowers that they produce to reproduce, and they love the poppies and the sunflowers. So it's gonna be bee central over here. I'm so extremely excited for spring right now. It's gonna be fantastic. The sunflowers, it's about an inch deep. Just lightly cover them up. I never pre-start sunflowers in little like seed starting cells. I just usually always direct sow sunflowers. Inevitably, there's always going to be some that are discovered by birds and squirrels, so I like to, you know, overcompensate. Here's some more of the black swan. Yeah, these are the black swan ones. These are the double mix. Now I'm going to get some of these little starts in there now that I've put some of the seeds in there. So these are done with soil blocks, and this is my first experience using soil blocks. And it is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a block of soil to start your seeds in. It's a really simple process. I will include a link to the video where I did soil blocking for the first time. It has more instructions on what is involved. But the medium to start with soil blocking, the recipe I used was mostly worm castings. I did perlite, a little bit of garden soil, and coconut coir as opposed to peat moss. Now, I've been investigating, you know, why coconut coir instead of peat moss. This one content creator on YouTube says that peat moss is not the most sustainable practice in the way that it's harvested. So ideally, coconut coir, especially for its nutritional benefits, is a better medium to start your soil blocks in, and it's more sustainable. Just gonna put them in the soil, one perfect little soil block. I feel like that's so much easier than using those little plastic containers, which, no hate if that's what you're using, because I used those for many years. I just think this is more efficient and easier, honestly. I can't wait to see what this turns out to be in a few weeks. There's like 3 in this particular one. I might move those out later. Now, if you are somebody who grows flowers every year in your garden, let me know what type of flower you just absolutely love. Like, is there a flower, like how I love the poppies, to you that you just love growing? Because I'm always looking for something new, and truthfully, I don't have like a big set of knowledge on growing flowers like I do with vegetable plants. But I want for people when they come over, or just my husband and I, you know, at the end of the day with the kids, walk out to the garden and think, oh, this is just a beautiful place to enjoy our time, because the garden can be a lot of work if we only just use it as like a resource. Then we're gonna forget why we enjoy it. So I feel like the flowers really help you remember why you enjoy the garden sometimes. I can't believe this time last year I was due to give birth, and or I ended up having my daughter like 2 weeks from now, basically, and I was planting out this garden. I want to say that all like the crazy squatting and stuff helped with, I mean, it did help get me in shape for the actual delivery, but I was a whole week late giving birth. And I've been meaning to do a video like on my VBAC story. Hopefully I'll get around to that very soon. That was quite a feat in itself. But I do sometimes contemplate sharing some of those things, just because I don't want it to change. I'm not trying to do that with the direction of my channel, talk about like, that's just not really the focus of the channel. But I do feel like it's such an important topic to me, specifically VBACs, that I might do a whole video on it. So if you're interested in hearing about my VBAC experience, which is a vaginal birth after a C-section. Definitely let me know if you're interested in hearing about something like that. It was a really anxious time. I was nervous. I didn't know how it was going to go. Was I going to have a successful VBAC? Was it going to end in an emergency C-section? There was just like a lot on my mind, and the garden really helped keep me just sane and help alleviate anxiety, because when I'm out here, I don't think of other things that cause me anxiety. This is like basically the only place, especially when I'm filming and working and stuff, I just truly don't have any negative thoughts as far as like anxiety, because I do struggle with that. And I'm able just to really enjoy myself in a stress-free way. Take a good look at these flower beds, because this is going to be so different in the next few weeks. And that is all I have time for today. Thanks for hanging out with me as always. It makes this whole process so much more enjoyable. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any of these updates coming up for the spring, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going to continue to show up. My name is Shelby again. Thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, that's such a compliment. Thank you. And until next time, bye.